This is going to be one for the books.
Yay!
I already realized that I was different. All you want to do is just to belong. Feel that. Where being gay was laughed at, frowned at. I remember them telling me that I was a disgrace in the family. Coming from pain and wanting to prove myself every single day. And I remember when I was asked by them, where are your parents? Oh, I don't have them with me anymore. I could not tell them that deep inside, what I wanted was to be genuinely happy. She betrayed me for money, forged my signature, and got all my clients and left me almost bankrupt. So I found myself at the lowest point in my life, almost bankrupt, in a physically abusive relationship that I tried my best to escape from. I was ready to kill myself. Plot twist! My mother, who was who was the biggest homophobic in the world.
One of the secrets to success wasn't about being the best, but about being your best self. In this episode of Coaching Conversations, I'm joined by Myke Celis, the powerhouse behind the global #BestMeEver movement. He's a multi-award winning global master coach, best-selling author, and TEDx speaker who's helped thousands break free from self-doubt and step into their power. If you've ever felt stuck, unsure of your next move, or afraid to fully own who you are, this episode's for you. Myke's here to share the mindset shifts, strategies, and personal stories that can help you unlock your best self. Let's dive in. Welcome to Coaching Conversations, Myke. I am ecstatic to have you here. So just to give people a little bit of a backstory about how we met at an awards ceremony. Unfortunately, it wasn't glamorous and it wasn't in person, but it was online and it was the Coach Awards. And it was your acceptance speech when you won the prestigious Life Coach of the Year that really got me thinking, right, okay, Myke is someone that I have to have on Coaching Conversations. And I've seen that even today you have won yet another award as well. So that's amazing. Congratulations. So very, very excited to have you on the show. And I think that everyone is in for a real treat in terms of what you've got to share, in terms of your experience, your knowledge, and your background as well. So my first question to you, and for anyone listening, I usually prepare the guest with questions beforehand, but Myke didn't want any, and I absolutely love that he didn't want to know what was coming up. So Myke, my first question is, on your website, you say that you work with people to bring out the best in them, but you call them unicorns. Can you
Mm-hmm.
explain what you mean by unicorns to me?
Okay, so I define unicorns by the way that these are people who have very huge potentials, high performing, and yet they're not able to embrace their own greatness because the society and everyone else around them made them feel otherwise, made them feel that they weren't worthy, they weren't good enough, or wanted to box them. Because when you tend to go against the flow, people tend to be scared of you or intimidated, or they take it as an attack towards them. However, these unicorns really have their own magic within. And it's all about, tapping into that authentic self of each and every person that I meet and allow them to embrace their own power coming from a space of worthiness and self love and become the person that they're meant to be, no matter how that may look like for them.
Absolutely amazing. So tell me then, you've got a very diverse set of clients I see on your website. You
Mm-hmm.
work with people from all different walks of life, so unicorns
Mm-hmm.
far and wide across the globe. In terms of the people that you actually work with, how do they find you? Why do they come to Myke Celis?
Okay, so when I started coaching, I already embraced the fact that I wanted to be the disruptor in the industry. Not to make a big point out of it, but rather in the coaching industry in general, when I was starting 7 years ago, you don't see so many openly gay coaches making waves internationally, more so from a third world country like the Philippines. Okay. So, in my head, when I started coaching, I wanted to be that representation that each and everyone can actually take up space. So that's what I did. When I was starting, I even heard a former mentor of mine tell me, maybe you should dress this way. Maybe you should adjust the tone of your voice when you coach. Never.
Wow.
Never, never. The way I talk to you is actually the way I coach. Okay, but of course, when the going gets tough and the topic becomes serious, it's another thing altogether. But what I'm saying is the way that you're hearing me right now is the way I host on television, is the way I give talks and converse with anyone and everyone else in this universe. So on that note, being that disruptor, unicorns again, as mentioned earlier, are people who who are very much different than others. They don't necessarily go with the flow. And once I have embraced that part of me, it became very attractive for all those others who have seen that it was actually possible to just be themselves and be comfortable about it. I remember most of my clients would ask me then, weren't you afraid to be judged? Weren't you afraid to be bashed? I mean, I could count all the number of times that I got bashed online, people questioning my worth. Where is this coach from the Philippines coming from? Why is he here? But it didn't stop me because I was living my purpose. I was showing everyone else that regardless of where it came from, I mean, my past wasn't exactly the most ideal one. It wasn't fairy tale like at all. But what I'm saying is, whatever um, past a person has been through, it won't really matter for as long as he or she is finally ready to embrace what he or she is meant to be. So that's how they resonated towards me. At first, of course, even my clients, because they are unicorns and we have the same profile, they were very skeptic until we had the coaching conversations that actually changed their lives. So that's when everything else fell into place. And should be told, I always get my clients right now via referral. So unicorns get refer other unicorns, and so this I don't even have to market myself anymore, and I'm very thankful for that because I always say that my clients' successes and their stories are mine as well. So it's all about finding your specific niche because as much as I want to, I can't be everyone's coach. So there.
Wow, what a story, Mike, and what an inspirational story as well. Tell me, you use the word disruptor then,
Mm-hmm.
and that you wanted to kind of go against the grain and embrace the
Mm-hmm.
real you, not only as a coach but an individual as well.
Mm-hmm.
So, for coaches listening, how would you recommend that they embrace their true selves then as well?
I would like to share one story that actually changed my life back then. I remember being tapped by a foreigner who set up an international summit here in the Philippines to be one of their speakers for the summit. I perfectly remembered, I was so grateful then because I was the only gay person invited to speak, okay, back then about coaching. And I said to the foreigner who invited me, I said, thank you for having me. Hashtag road to the Tony Robbins. Okay. I was a big fan of Tony Robbins. I still am up to now. Okay. It's in my bucket list to meet him, Oprah, and all those in my list someday. Okay. But moving back to my story, so I told him hashtag road to the Tony Robbins. And he just faced me, stared at me blankly, and said, no, Mike, I got scared. I was thinking, did I offend him? Did I say anything wrong? I was just admiring someone, whom I looked up to through the years, who was one of my inspiration in coaching. And then I said, I don't get it. And then he told me, it's not hashtag road to the Tony Robbins, it's hashtag road to Myke Celis. That changed me. So ever
Wow.
since, I've always embraced that I don't want to be like my idols. They have their own space, and it made sense to me right now. So even if I coach coaches, if I train them, mentor them, I always tell them from the beginning, I don't want you to be like me. I want you to be your own self, to be your own, whatever it may be, what kind of coach you may be, because you are meant to be someone else's coach because they are very much like you. And when I say they're very much like you, they're not me, and it can never be. And that's so beautiful because right now, as I mentor coaches, they don't actually, get clients from one another in terms of they don't have to steal from another coach or, you know, grab a client just because they have similar niches. No, because they understood the value of embracing their own truth and being coached first before they practice coaching so that their pains, once healed, would be the one that would become very attractive for all their coaches.
Wow, that story gave me chills, Mike, because I didn't know
Mm-hmm.
where it was going to go to begin with, but I hoped it had
Mm-hmm.
a happy ending. But I think it's
Mm-hmm.
so incredibly powerful that just
Mm-hmm.
something so simple like that could change the
Mm-hmm.
course of how
Yes.
you coach and how you market yourself as well. So
Mm-hmm.
let's talk a little bit about the hashtag BestMeEver movements then now. This is your
Mm-hmm.
hashtag. So tell
Yes.
me a little bit about the story behind it and what inspired you to start this journey.
Oh my God. This is going to be one for the books.
Oh, yay!
Okay. Um so let's start first with by honoring my younger self. Okay. Um at 5 years old, I already realized that I was different. Come to think of it, on my fifth birthday, I remember asking my parents for a unicorn toy because it was the first time I saw a unicorn. I've seen horses before, honey, but I never saw one with wings and a horn. So I'm like, I love that. And not having any concept of what gender based toys are, you know, I chose that. I was surprised because my parents got angry at me for choosing that, and they never gave me that. I remember they gave me a toy robot instead. Being the 5-year-old kid, I thought, well, it's still a toy, so we can make the most. But deep in my heart, I knew I wanted a unicorn. I tried again on my sixth birthday. What do you want for your birthday, honey? A unicorn. I remember I even, pointed to them the picture of one I wanted back then. They got angry again. And still, I could not understand. And I remember them giving me Ghostbusters toy. I perfectly remember that. The action figure. In my heart, at that young age, I'm like, what's wrong with unicorns? But I was already, in that space wherein, is there something wrong with unicorns? Because I see others back then, well, some of my classmates, would have bags with those design and all those stuff. So I'm like, why can't I? Okay. So in line with that, so I grew up then, and by age 7, if I remember it correctly, 7 or 8, I changed my strategy because the little me thought that if I was asking unicorns for my birthday, my parents would get angry at me. There was something wrong there. Guess what I asked for then, honey? I asked for Wonder Woman.
Woohoo!
Because during the time she had a show on TV, and I remember when I was pitching the idea to my parents then, I imitated her twirling around and jumping from the couch down to the floor. And my parents hit me. And it it generated an even harsher reaction because they knew about Wonder Woman and they felt it was a normal for a kid, a little boy, to like a Wonder Woman toy. And starting then, I began to withdraw from them, not asking anything during my birthdays. But in school, wherein I found my refuge back then, I would be playing with girls more than boys. I remember telling myself, I don't want to play with boys because they're so dirty after recess. So, so there I was in a classroom playing with my girlfriends. I did not engage in the what do you call this, rough housing of people back then, because I was very much concerned about how what I would look, how I would smell, and I still kept that unicorn close to my heart. As you were growing, you of course discover your gender. This when I realized that I'm not really into girls. So no matter how many pageants you let me join and be partnered with this lady, she would always be my bestie. Nothing more, nothing less. So, um, and on that note, as you explore, and it's quite common for people nowadays, when you reach your, preteens and teenage years, all you want to do is just to belong. I never did feel that. I was
Mm.
always trying to compromise because back then, while I was growing up in the 80s and 90s, it was all about, um, being in a conservative society where being gay was laughed at, frowned at, and stereotyped as you would be no better than any hairdresser or a comic in a movie.
Mm.
So that was the impression then. And each time that my parents would hear that I was playing with girls or I was hanging out with them more, I remember them telling me that I was a disgrace in the family.
Wow.
And so, in my young mind then, I was trying to figure out if people don't like me as I am, what can I do to compensate? I studied harder. I made sure that I would be successful in all my academic undertakings, which actually helped. Because when you're doing good in class, everyone wants to befriend you.
Mm.
However, after class, that's a different story altogether.
Mm.
So I still felt empty because I wasn't able to express myself. I began to put that wall wherein you cannot be rude to me, you cannot bully me because I am intelligent and I can help you in class. But outside of that, everything changed. I still felt empty. I still
Mm.
knew that outside of the four walls of the classroom, I didn't have that particular friend that I can lean on to because they were not embarking on the same journey that I was as I was discovering myself. That went through all throughout my academic life, even up to college. And after graduating, I told myself I would want to be successful because, again, I want to prove my parents wrong. The moment I graduated, I left the house of my parents, and that was at
Mm.
18. To set up my own and, just be whoever I want to be. I really explored my sexuality back then and then found myself, striving really hard, coming from pain and wanting to prove myself every single day. And I remember when I was asked back them, where are your parents? Oh, I don't have them with me anymore. That was my answer.
Wow.
That was my answer.
Wow.
And but that worked for me back then.
Mm.
It worked for me. Pain became my motivation. So
Mm.
in 5 years' time that I spent in the corporate setting, I got promoted to a level of director in 5 years because I kept on winning awards. I was very gung ho. I never allowed my staff to go home until, it was perfect because I was coming from fear that if I didn't
Mm.
succeed, I would lose the respect of everyone. So that happened. I left the corporate world, set up my own, built my advertising and marketing business for 14 years. Okay. Earned a lot. And everyone respected me then. I remember being interviewed for an advertising and marketing magazine, one of my bucket lists back then when you're in that industry. Um, I told them, I was asked that, what else could you want? You have your corner office, you have your company, you're handling multinational brands, you have recognition. What else could you want? I remember I could not answer anything. I
Oh,
could not tell them that deep inside, what I wanted was to be genuinely happy.
wow.
That was something. So looking back then, I felt I had no choice. That if I actually just would allow people to see that, they would take me for granted, they would bully me again. So I did not. Fast forward to, I hired a good friend of 15 years since college to manage my business because she lost her job, only to find out a few months later that she was actually doing everything under the table. She betrayed me for money, forged my signature, and got all my clients and left me almost bankrupt.
Wow.
It didn't help that back then I was in a relationship with my ex who was physically abusive. However, since I was longing for male companionship and he was perceived to be the perfect guy by a lot of people because he was good looking, he had a career, very attentive, very sweet when he's not jealous, okay? People did not know that he was hitting me whenever he got jealous. I stayed on thinking it was the kind of love I deserved then. So I found myself at the lowest point in my life, almost bankrupt, in a physically abusive relationship that I tried my best to escape from. And when you're in that point wherein your walls of success just crumbled, one thing that has been, protecting you for the longest time, you wouldn't even know where to go next. And mind you, because I was just banking on my success, I never made really good friends in the process
Mm.
because I focused too much on just saving myself. Okay. So I found myself one night inside my room, wrote all the passwords to my gadgets, wrote my letter to my parents and my loved ones, and told them that it's time to say goodbye. I was ready to kill myself. I had two
Oh.
choices: to slash my wrist or to overdose myself with pills. I already had those both beside me. I only had to choose. I was ready because I told myself, this is rock bottom, nowhere else to go. You don't have a relationship, you don't have a career. My other clients left me because they didn't want to get involved in the case because I filed a court case against my friend. Our other friends left me as well, thinking I was creating a big deal out of it, not knowing that she left me with how many thousands of dollars worth of debt I never did incur for myself. So they wouldn't understand that. But I was feeling that time that nobody even asked me about my side. So I was like, I'm ready to go. They won't even miss me. And when I was about to decide, I remember this one particular moment. Imagine this: you're inside your room, you're about to kill yourself. You just look at the light, the lampshade, because it's the last thing that you would probably see before killing yourself. And I did. And something just sparked. And it said to me, whatever, and whoever's voice was that, said to me, what if I tried again? And I stopped. I remember stopping, thinking for a while, and it was probably the best decision I've ever made in my life. Like, I reached rock bottom, nothing else to lose. So what if I tried again? So I did. I did not push through, obviously, because I'm still here. So I did not push through. Whew. Unless you're talking to a ghost right now, but no, you're talking
Okay,
to me.
okay.
So thank God. Okay. So anyway, I did not push through, but the way I started again was not going back to the industry that I got traumatized from. I started to do other things. I started to write my learnings back then and then post them on Facebook. Facebook was not yet private then. It was open for everyone. And I remember using the hashtag best year ever because I just wanted to get through the year. People were not aware about what I was going through because I didn't want to rant. Because in my head, I believe that no one would listen. They would still listen to my other friends, you know. They just liked me because I was successful then. Now that I don't have anything, I'm nothing to them. That was my narrative. Every single day I would post. At first, no one was paying attention, then suddenly, people were resonating towards them. I started teaching in school then. I wanted to find a career outside of what I was doing, and my students, surprisingly, were going to me after class and asking me for life lessons because they read my Facebook and not about the lessons that we had in class. They were the ones who told me that, "Sir, you reminded us of Oprah or Ellen or Tony Robbins." I knew who they were, but not Tony Robbins back then. But I'm like, why? I'm just posting. And then traction generally grew back then. Slowly but surely, people were commenting on my post, sharing my post, messaging me of how I helped them. Come December 30, then it was time for the new year. I thought, and so what am I going to do with this? People are now expecting me to post every day. And should it be hashtag best year ever, year two? But the marketing side of me said that would be stupid. So don't even go there. You don't want to go year 10, year 11. You don't want to go there. So took a step back and reflected, what is it that I wanted in my life? And whatever happened to me was not about the year. It wasn't about the people around me, but rather about what I chose for myself and what I can still be as I move forward. So that's when hashtag best me ever came about. And when I released that hashtag together with the newfound postings about more learnings, more inspiration, taking from experience, a publisher saw me and asked me to publish my book under Best Me Ever, which became a bestseller upon release. And then I was invited to guest in a radio program. Um, I told my story, they heard my voice, and they liked me. And then before I knew it, I was already hosting on radio. And afterwards, in the process of doing so, I wanted to embark on a career in coaching. So that's when I made use of hashtag best me ever as my platform as I studied coaching, did my apprenticeship, and all those things that are needed. I built my portfolio through that hashtag and spread it across multimedia platforms. So today, what once started as a coping mechanism for me is now the official coaching platform of hundreds of unicorns from all over the world wanting to be the best versions of themselves, no matter how that may look like for them and no matter what others may say. So, there.
Wow, Mike, thank you for sharing such a deeply personal story
Mm-hmm.
and such an inspiring one as well. And I think that if anyone's listening, going through something similar and feeling like they were in a place like you are, I think just even listening to your voice and if they're watching, seeing your face as well, full of light and love, that I think that you're an inspiring person that came out of something and not only came out of it but managed to turn it around and inspire others as well. So I think that's absolutely
I,
fantastic.
I always say this that if people would ask me about what can I say about how successful hashtag best me ever is right now, I always say that I have my former friend and my ex who beat me up before to thank for that. Because if it weren't for them, if it weren't for my love also for the unicorn that I carried with me through the years, if my parents did not treat me that way, if the other kids did not bully me back then, there would be no hashtag best me ever now.
Mm,
I have learned to embrace the fact that those things happen to me. One of the hardest things for people to actually do in this
mm,
lifetime. and realized that if it weren't for them, I wouldn't be here right now. I wouldn't be here talking to you
Mm,
in this podcast right now if I didn't own that story and
mm.
change my narrative altogether.
Absolutely. So many people experience self doubts, Mike.
Mhm.
What is your advice for someone that's in the moment now with that self doubt and they just can't see a way out?
Mhm. I always tell my clients when they're doubting themselves to first pause and reflect. Each time that they doubt themselves, and I can ask all of your listeners and viewers right now too, what do you want to achieve? Do you want to feel safe? Do you want to feel validated? Do you want do you have any regrets? Whatever your answer may be, what other way can you actually achieve them without doubting yourself? Now, if it persists, I ask them, take me to a time wherein you felt that you were most successful or you achieved something that was that you were doubting yourself for. It actually brings a lot of light bulb moments wherein
Mm,
you thought you could not make it through, but truth be told, life prepares you for anything and everything that's happening to you at the moment. So it's all about just remembering that once in your life, you've actually encountered and surpassed something greater. It's all about being
absolutely.
bringing it at the forefront.
Absolutely. So, Mike, I've talked in previous podcasts to people about having one person, even if you just have one person in your life that's willing to listen to you, that's by your side, that's your shadow almost, that's there for you. How important has it been for you throughout your journey to have someone with you then? Or has it all come from within you?
Okay. Um, Plot twist. My mother, who was who was the biggest homophobic in the world, totally shifted 360 degrees and has become my best friend ever since. We have
Wow.
patched things up. She has been instrumental in my growth. She kept on telling me that that's your purpose. Sometimes when I feel tired, she would always tell me, people need you. You need to be seen. Sometimes she would also ask me, so who's your new boyfriend? It came to that point. She has been instrumental because that's when I actually proved to myself that my mom, during the time when I was younger, and because I could not understand it, actually loved me in the best way she could with
Mm,
all that she had back then. I never knew that she was just coming from fear that people would make fun of me because she
mm,
never told me that. So when I poured my heart out and asked, why were you hitting me? Why were you? Because that was the way their parents raised mine.
mm,
It was the best way they knew with all that they had, but they did not have the awareness that I have right now.
mm,
Thank you to my coaches and my mentors who gave me this.
mm.
So it made me understand them more. And right now, I couldn't think of any other person whom, I could share anything and everything with because each and every success that I have, I always tell them, my mom, my aunt, my family, my true friends, and all those who supported me. I'm just fortunate right now that even total strangers who just get to listen to me or see me, in whichever engagement I may have, they are the ones who actually give unwavering support based on actual experience. And I just feel blessed to be given that opportunity to inspire them and change their lives without me even knowing the impact of what I just said.
That's fantastic to hear that you've recreated that relationship though as well, and
Hmm.
that she's now your biggest supporter. I
Biggest fan,
absolutely love
definitely.
that.
Hmm.
So when it comes to self growth, then she's gone through her own journey, then I guess. So, something I've talked about with other coaches as well is that as humans, I guess we have the capacity for self growth
Mm-hmm.
much later on in life, don't we? That there's a capacity there if you lead with compassion, that you're able to grow and develop yourself.
Mm-hmm.
But in your experience, Mike, what's the biggest mindset shift that really leads to true potential, growth?
I think it's all about being comfortable with ourselves first, no matter what
Okay.
version of ourself we have at present. A lot of people base their confidence in themselves in the past, whether they were doing good, they were everyone's favorite, they were a star before, or in the future, this is what I want to be. I'll be more confident if I become this. That we forget that our version as of the present, that work in progress, deserves as much admiration and investment and inspiration so that we get to grow to the fullest. I think it's being comfortable about what we can and what we can't do. And at this point in my life, I am still very much okay with asking questions when I don't understand something. It might be the most trivial things. Like example, I'm sorry, I don't know where the Google Drive is or what a Google Drive is. Just an example. I wouldn't mind. Or if someone was doing a lecture, I would ask not to, to look good in the eyes of others, but I would really ask, I'm sorry, I missed out something. I think can you elaborate first on this one? I think it's about being humble about what you know and what you don't know, and
Hmm.
who you are as a person, and knowing that as you are, you don't have to be perfect to take up space. I think
Mm-hmm.
that's a very important thing to remember, and you don't need to know everything to take up space.
Yeah,
It's okay to ask, it's okay not to know, because that way, when you know what you need to know and want to know, that's when you grow.
absolutely. And I guess it's having that confidence in that moment to be able to
Mm-hmm.
say, no, I don't understand. Can you please explain it
Yes,
to
it
me, isn't
doesn't make
it?
you less of a person if you say that you don't understand it or you're not familiar with it. Honey, you cannot fake it till you make it. Seriously,
Absolutely.
seriously, in our industry, in the coaching
Mm-hmm.
industry, you cannot just go about your practice relying on beautiful marketing, because it's your clients' testimonials that would do
Mm.
the work for you, and no amount of ads, PR, or whatever else can make that happen.
Absolutely. Let's delve a little bit deeper into authenticity, if that's okay,
Mm-hmm.
because we hear so much about this at the moment. And I think that you've managed to, based on your experience, your life, etc., to be your true, authentic self.
Mm-hmm.
When you're working with individuals, and for anyone listening as well, how important is it to be your true, authentic self on a daily basis? For example, when you're at work.
Okay. The first thing that I normally ask people that I coach is, can you look at the mirror right now and tell me, how do you feel about the person that you see in the mirror? I normally have coaching sessions in the morning also. So I ask them this when they are still unkept, when they haven't even, combed their hair, taken a bath, and all. Because that is the most authentic self that you can be. So if a client prepares at 6 a.m. and it is already well dressed, and I ask, oh, so why are you fully in your full getup? And she says, because we have a session. I would call her out. So what really is the reason for that? And now they think, okay, people have been used to, they have to look good or be right in each and every situation to be accepted. What I tell my clients is that if you become true to yourself, if you embrace your authentic self, that's the only way you can come up with a goal that is really close to your heart. Imagine if you're just there to please others, would you come up with a personal goal for you, or are you making it for them? So it would be senseless. It all starts from embracing what's really true to you and who you really are. Because when you embrace who you really are, that's the only way you can be what you're meant to be. So there.
Oh, that's so interesting. So, what do you think, Mike, then about companies like Meta releasing, the news that they are getting rid of their diversity and equity and inclusion departments and apparently needing more masculine energy within these companies? I think, it's a very difficult time, isn't it, when we've worked so far for inclusion and having workplaces that are diverse and that are accepting of so many different people that we're almost going back in time. What's
Mhm.
your take on this?
With all due respect to the companies that are gravitating towards those in terms of their culture, they may have reasons which I may not understand as I champion diversity and inclusivity. However, my take there is, what do you think would be the value beyond gender that a certain person can actually contribute if you allowed people of different backgrounds, of different capabilities, of different experiences to be part of your team?
Hmm.
The thing here is that people oftentimes focus on what divides us.
Hmm.
But in reality, if we focus on the value that that differences, can bring, instead of considering it as something that would, build walls in between us, you would be surprised to know that coexisting isn't actually that bad. We just need to respect each other and
Hmm.
look beyond gender, because at the end of the day, it's not a person's gender, status, accomplishment, money in the bank, or whatever else that would define the worth of a person.
Hmm.
So maybe we can start looking from there.
Absolutely. So, in terms of when you're working with people, Mike,
Mm-hmm.
so you've been coaching for 7 years now, is that
Mm-hmm.
right?
Mm-hmm.
Yes, yeah.
Yes. Yes.
Countless awards in that time. We'll talk about them a bit later.
Mm-hmm.
When you're coaching people, is the reason that they come to you for their coaching often what you actually work on?
Um, well, it depends on where they heard about me or who referred them. For my celebrities and top executive clients, they basically, because unicorns already have those, specific experiences that I myself have experienced. Trivia, okay? You get to coach best when your coaches, especially if you're dealing with trauma or anything, a particular personal pain or anything that you have similar pains with, that you have resolved. Okay, you would be the best coach for them. Um, Now, on that note, for others who have seen me maybe in my shows, in my TV, radio programs, talks, and all, as they come from different parts of life, they share, you know uh concerns that maybe sometimes I remember, like, there was this person who was sharing about a problem that I fully cannot relate with, because it was not part of my set of experiences. I felt that we weren't connecting. We have chemistry sessions, right?
Hmm.
So it wasn't fit, but I knew that I had a mentee coach who had the same story and the same, set of experiences of what I do normally. If I felt that way, I would refer the person to another coach per se. I'm not the type who would just accept people immediately, because I don't want to shortchange them, and I don't want to shortchange myself either, trying to make things work because I'm paid. The good thing right now, and I can say this proudly, is that coaching for me is a calling, it's a vocation. While it
Hmm.
pays the bills and it's beautiful to be paid of your worth, I also believe that I should be giving so much more than what I paid for. It's not just the money, because I give the same amount of attention,
Mm,
care, concern, compassion for everyone who approaches me who is in need of my coaching. Because
mm.
I believe, because back then, when I was just starting, I was helped too by amazing coaches. So, my way of giving
Wow,
that.
amazing. So, when it comes to any coaches listening as well, in terms of their self development,
Mm-hmm.
how important is it for them to be coached themselves throughout their coaching journey?
Number one requirement for all those who would seek mentoring from me is that have yourself coached first. Whether you get me or you have your own coach, I don't care. But you need to be able to experience being a coachee so that when you come face to face with a prospective client, number one, you know how they feel, so you become more empathic towards them. Okay, you can relate and you can adjust accordingly. Number two, you don't get triggered. You need to resolve your issues at first so that the session does not become all about you, right? Because if you are triggered by the similar story of your client, trust me, you would lose yourself in the session. You would feel angry. You would lose the client and feel that you're not doing a great job as a coach. So, it's very important to actually have your coach. And up to now, at my level, I also still have my master coach to coach me as needed. Before, it was on a regular basis. Right now, it's when I encounter stumbling blocks. Because, again, self discovery is a continuous experience, and so is upskilling, right? And so is coaching. So I still don't know everything, and I'm willing to discover that. If I discover that, oh, why did I get a bit triggered? Even if it's the littlest things, I would message my coach and ask, can you help me process on this? Because even if I know how to coach myself, okay, I don't. Because I know the value of having someone objective and knowledgeable guide me through the process so that I don't encounter any biases along the way.
Fantastic. And I think such an important lesson for absolutely all of us coaches
Mm-hmm.
listening to you as well. And I think
Mm-hmm.
something that a lot of people don't necessarily do when they start off in their
Mm-hmm.
coaching journey. They think, no, I'm okay by myself now, I'll go it
Mm-hmm.
alone. But it
May
can be
I add
very
something very
lonely.
important there also? What I learned in my practice, I don't know if people would agree with me on this, but this is what I have to say. It's not about your certification or affiliation that would,
Mm,
make you successful in this industry. It's
mm,
all about your work on others and your inner work
mm,
as well. No
absolutely.
amount of awards, no amount of beautiful credentials, with even if you have 30 certifications and trainings, it would not guarantee that the clients would go to you. It's how you build your story and your brand as a coach that will.
Absolutely. So let's flip the switch now then and think from a client perspective.
Mm.
Is the same for a client then? Do you truly believe that there is a coach? You know, that we almost have a soulmate in a coach, that we connect with them and that
Mm-hmm.
is the right coach for us. What's your approach for anyone listening that's
Um,
perhaps looking for a coach?
yes, that's very important. Rapport is very important when you're coaching. I mean, you don't want to spill your heart out to someone whom you feel you couldn't trust.
Mm,
And please mind you, to as a client, it shouldn't be on a transactional yes, no, maybe answer basis. You're going to tell your story, and that means a lot to you. So you should be able to have a coach who knows, number one, how to listen, number two, how to ask the best questions, number three, who fully understands how you may be feeling at that moment, and number four, fully present to address whatever changes there may be at that given point in time. Yes, I do believe in coaching soulmates, much like how I found all my unicorns, because I told you, if you put them side by side together, even if they have different nationalities, different careers, and all those experiences, there would always be similarities, striking similarities, that each one is good in what he does. It's this a disruptor in his industry and all those types. So it's really amazing. You call those avatars, by the way, in
Mm.
order for you to be able to coach someone to the fullest. He or she ideally must be your perfect avatar. So there.
Absolutely. And that's something I've been looking into a lot myself recently, actually. So
Hmm.
that's
Which you can
super
figure out if
interesting.
you
Yeah.
actually do a lot of inner work and discover that, because you cannot meet your perfect avatar if you haven't fully uncovered your
Mm.
own full potential.
Absolutely. Now, one thing I haven't discussed with the coaches that I've had on this show so far is the value having a coach can potentially have to someone's life. Now, you've got some amazing testimonials on your website. Fantastic. And,
Mm-hmm.
people obviously love working with you.
Mm-hmm.
In terms of anyone listening that's thinking about, yeah, I'm hearing a lot about coaching now. I don't know. Should I get a coach, or should I get a personal trainer? Should I buy a new TV? What should I do? For me personally, there's no better investment than you can make than in yourself.
Agree?
However you look at that. So your self development for me is just the key thing. I think when you perform at your best, when you feel your
Mm-hmm.
best, good things happen. But tell me a little bit about the benefits, or yeah, the long term benefits of working with a coach.
Okay. Um, I normally candidly answer interviews when asked, "What's your biggest regret?" or "What is it that you've wanted way back that you haven't gotten?" And I always tell them I wished I learned about coaching or had my own coach at age 10. I
Same.
would probably be even more successful right now, lived a happier life, but then again, I wouldn't know if Best Me ever existed. So
Mm,
cut, cut, cut. Okay, I
mm,
always answer that way. Now, moving forward to your question rather about what would be the long term benefits of coaching. Number one, clarity. We need to be clear in each and every decision that we make so that we know where our North Star is and we don't get distracted by shiny objects in between. Okay? So imagine being totally focused on one amazing goal and working each and every day strategically moving forward. So that's one benefit, the clarity. Number two, having an accountability partner. An accountability
mm,
partner who would journey with you during your toughest days and celebrate with you during days that you are winning left and right. So if you know, people would, in general, people, if you just know that there's one person who believes in you truly and you can, draw strength from that, that's basically the role of a coach in your life.
mm,
So that's number two, having an accountability partner. Number three, you would also be able to discover yourself on a deeper level because there are things that you don't know and
mm,
things that you don't know that you don't know,
mm,
right? So again, knowing yourself fully would allow you to make the best decisions for yourself.
mm,
Meaning, I don't like this. I'm into this more. What if I realize that I am drawn towards this, or this does not sit well with me? It helps you create your boundaries. It helps you create your directions, and that would be a beautiful experience as you get to know yourself on a deeper level. Uh, One more also that I believe that a coach can help you on a long term basis is that planning strategically each and every step
mm,
that you may want to take in accordance with your biggest goals. Sometimes we end up feeling lost and confused, and we just need some powerful questions to help, stir up the pot and come up with amazing solutions that ironically have always been within us. And we just forget. So it's the magic that coaching brings. And I think those are so far the most valuable things that, a coach can give you on a long term basis.
Absolutely. And listening to what you're saying now, I think you can see why athletes have had coaches and do have coaches
Mm,
throughout their career. But I think when it comes to coaching, and again for self development, and for so long, and when I was working with clients, styling them from
mm-hmm,
a personal brand perspective, there was still a little bit of a shyness there that people didn't want people to know that they were having help,
mm-hmm,
quote unquote. But I
mm-hmm,
think that reframing it and doing exactly like you said and being able to look at it from a strategic perspective,
mm-hmm.
it is so incredibly interesting and so incredibly valuable as well.
I think what we should tell your listeners and viewers right now is that when you get the coach, it doesn't mean that you have a problem.
Mm,
It can also mean that you want to level up, not
mm,
necessarily because you're in deep shit, but rather you just want to, go to that next chapter,
mm.
see how far you can go. Let's remove the stigma from getting professional help, whether from a coach or any mental health professional, because it won't do you any good. And I always say that getting help is quite a humbling experience and the most empowering one because that is what you deserve. Knowing that by getting help, you're able to maximize your own potential. Best gift ever, I think.
Absolutely. Now,
Mm-hmm.
Mike, I do want to go back to, though, that you talked about how, you shared your personal story and
Mm-hmm.
that you felt alone in that time.
Mm-hmm.
Is your life full now?
I cannot complain. Okay, I cannot complain. Right now, I'm in a space where in each and every day, I feel the love. I can now. Oh, by the way, I'm a hugger. So even if it's the first time I met someone, I would hug the person.
Same.
Before, I didn't want to be touched or to touch others because I felt that it's too intimate, it's too much. But I just wanted to express the joy that I have. You'd be surprised on how many people cried when I hugged them for the first time.
Wow.
Yes, because these were the people who needed to be hugged all their life.
Mm,
And they were reminding me of the kid that I was before. So that's
mm.
why I don't want to miss any opportunity to give that person, wherever he or she may be in this world right now, that hug that he or she needs. Because by doing that, I'm honoring the child before that I was that wanted the same thing.
That's
So I
so
think
powerful, Mike.
Mm-hmm. So I made it a point that regardless of who you are, no matter your position, I mean, I hug randomly people like, okay, hello, like like the other day, I came to the studio to do my radio program, and I hugged my male boss. Hi, how are you? And he was like,
I love it.
I know he was shocked, but I'm like, oh, I'm sorry, I'm a hugger. Okay. But then he felt comfortable afterwards. So what I'm
Hmm.
saying is you don't know the difference that you can make through the
Yeah.
simple gestures only if you allow yourself to come from a space of authenticity.
Mm,
So I would rather hug than give people fake kisses
mm.
anytime. So I can give both, but I come from a space of authenticity. So there.
Fantastic. I'm giving you a virtual hug now. I
Likewise,
can
honey.
I can feel the warmth. So tell me, Mike, where can people find you and how can they start their hashtag best me ever as well?
Okay. Thank you, Google, for making my name so searchable so they can just type Myke Celis, MykeCelis, or visit www.coach-mikecelis.com. So when you click on my website. Anything and everything is already there. Same with Google. You get to see anything and everything that's in my life. My LinkedIn is very much updated as well, so you can check that out. How can you start in your journey? I am very transparent. All my programs are in my website. There are rates there. I'm not ashamed of my rates. I'm very comfortable with them. So it's really up to you. I just normally ask clients, who would want to get me as a coach, what do you think is the value of this program to you beyond the rates that I'm charging?
I
Because
love
it's the
that.
only way I would be able to gauge the commitment of the person.
Fantastic. And
Mm-hmm.
then maybe as a final question, Mike, if
Mm-hmm.
someone is feeling a little bit lost right now and anything that you've said today's resonated with them, because so much of it's resonated with me personally, and I just know that,
Mm-hmm.
from everything that you've said, that there's something that everyone will hear and think, wow, yes, that really has touched something in me. What can they start doing to start moving forward from this point on?
Okay, first things first, remember wherever you are right now, whatever you've been through and whatever you're going through, number one, that's only temporary and you're still on your way to become your own hashtag best me ever. It's just a pit stop right now. Number two, given that if you're having a hard time right now, there's no harm in pausing first. If you're overly stressed at work, let me remind you that work is not life. If you're overly stressed about your family, you can still have your own space because you have the choice. Okay? And number three, after pausing, reflect what is it that you truly want for yourself if there was no limitation and you weren't coming from fear. Take it from there, make it your North Star, and plan your actions thereafter.
That sounds fantastic. Absolutely wonderful advice, Mike. Thank you
Mm-hmm.
so, so much.
Thank
I'm glad
you.
I'm not wearing my smartwatch in this coaching conversation, Mike, because I think my heart rate would have been up and down and up and down and up and down
I
because
would take that as a good sign, though.
really? Okay, fine. Because I think that the stories that you've shared have been so very personal, but that they they have so much gravity to them as well. And I can tell that, you're in the Philippines, I'm here in London at the moment, but
Mm-hmm.
I feel a sense of connection through this screen, even and listening to your story. And I truly hope that everyone listening
Mm-hmm.
feels that as well. And is able to come on your hashtag best me ever journey as well. So thank
Mm-hmm.
you so, so very much for being such an amazing guest on Coaching Conversations. Mike's details are going to be in the description below. Link to his website, his LinkedIn, absolutely everything about him. And you can find out more about him via those links as well. Thank you so very much, Mike. If you've got any closing words, I'm going to give the floor to you.
Well, first of all, let me honor you. Thank you for this invitation. I enjoyed myself, and it's amazing that you're doing this not only for the community, but for people who needed to hear not only my story, but your other guests as well, and a piece of you as well. Because each time that you open yourself to the world, each time that you bring in people, much like me, you are helping one soul out there who needed to hear a particular story. And take note, you made that happen. I honor you for that. And I look forward to sharing more with you in the future and growing with you as well. Okay. And to all your listeners and viewers, again, never too late to become your own hashtag best me ever. And best time is now.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Mike. I'm Ellen Mai. This is Mike. This has been
Mhm.
Coaching Conversations. Please remember to like, subscribe, and share. Thank you very much.
Thank you.